are 3 big mistakes I see people making that stop them from making progress in a handstand or leave them feeling like they can't do it at all, which isn't true. All 3 are really common, but the last one you may not even realize you're doing. The first mistake I see people making that isn't nearly talked about enough is incorrect hand placement. I see a lot of people with a flat hand placement. The problem with this is it limits what you can do when you are upside down, because your hands form your foundation, so you need to have a foundation that can adapt to the different variables in a handstand. You see, when your weight goes forwards, you will feel more weight in your fingertips, and when it goes back, you'll feel it in the heels of your hands. Now, with a flat hand placement, you are limited with what you can do because you have 2 rigid surfaces. Whereas when the hands are in a spider shape, you can press through the fingertips and you can dig down through the heels of your hands to help you shift weight forwards and backwards. Now, this kind of work with the hands is great because it teaches you about body awareness and it teaches you how to work with your felt sense, which is an important point that I'll get into at the end of the video. The second mistake I see people making is about their hips. This is an important one because your hips control movement between the upper and lower body. For most people, the lower body makes up the majority of their body, unless you're 5 foot like me, although this point still applies. A lot of people who are striving for that perfect straight line really struggle with banana back and they don't understand why it's happening. Now, this is all to do with your hips, and it's because your hips are coming into an anterior pelvic tilt, creating a compression in the lumbar spine, which creates that banana back shape. Now, the best way to fix this mistake is to slightly tilt the pelvis back to come into a posterior pelvic tilt. This will lengthen the lumbar spine and create more of a straight line position. Now, one thing to note, a lot of people will overdo this and they will over tuck their tailbone. This isn't necessary. I get why you do it because everyone wants to give 100%, but really it's more of a slight movement. Just a little tilt of the pelvis backwards will create that beautiful straight line. Another thing you can do to assist this action is to squeeze your glutes. So that action of squeezing the glutes will actually help you come into a posterior pelvic tilt and maintain that position. Let's get into the last mistake, and this is the one that most people don't even realize they're making, and this is all to do with your senses. So we're going to be talking about your sight sense, your felt sense, and your vestibular system. Sight is a pretty obvious one. We use it to give us feedback about our surroundings and help us orient ourselves in space. But the mistake I see a lot of people making with their sight sense is they don't focus it on one spot. So most people tend to look around trying to find balance. This will only make it harder for your body and your brain to work together to help you figure out where you are. So instead, what you should be focusing on is just picking one spot. A great place to focus the gaze is in between the thumbs. Now, when you keep the gaze focused in one spot, it makes it easier for your brain to understand where you are because the landscape isn't always changing. So it means that your brain gets an easier time trying to figure out the balance. Now, this goes hand in hand with number 2, and this is one that I spoke about at the beginning of class, and it comes back to the importance of spidering your hands, and it's so that you can use your felt sense. Your felt sense is so important because it will give you feedback about where more or less balance is. So when you're in a handstand, as you feel more weight shifting forwards into the fingertips, you will know that you need to bring your weight slightly backwards. Vice versa, for when the weight goes back towards the heels of the hands, you know you need to shift more weight forward. Now, this kind of feedback is invaluable, and this will help your body and your brain work together to keep you in balance. Now, the last piece of the puzzle is your vestibular system, and this is all to do with your inner ear. Now, within the inner ear, there are tiny organs that detect movement of the head. So they notice when the head turns side to side, moves up and down, and tilts. This one is really cool because as your brain detects that you are going off balance and it notices a change in movement of the head, it initiates a compensatory action. This explains why when you are about to trip, you automatically step another foot in front to break your fall. This explains why you may be feeling off balance if you're trying to shift your gaze too quickly. Keeping your head in a fixed position will help you maintain balance because it's actually making it easier for your brain to figure out where you are in space. So let's do a quick recap of the 3 mistakes you need to avoid and how you can fix them. Number 1, don't practice with a flat hand placement because it's ineffective and it won't help you feel the floor. Instead, focus on spidering the hands to create more stability. Number 2, if you are coming into an anterior pelvic tilt, stop it. You're only creating more of a banana back. Focus on slightly tilting the pelvis backwards to come into that straight line position. Finally, work with your senses. This is going to give you invaluable feedback about where you are in space and teach you better body awareness, which is so important for any handstand practice.